A new wave of comparisons are going to come across the screen in the next couple of weeks because the Kobo Elipsa 2E is now here to play. On the left, we have the Huawei Matepad Paper Collector's Edition, which is no different than the regular one. It just has 6 gigs of RAM, and this is the Elipsa 2. We're going to put these off to the side first because we have to look at the pens. Pens are half the battle. The M Pencil is one of the worst pens in the industry of e-paper devices. We're not counting 2-in-1 Dell laptops and Microsoft Surface, but once it have to do with e-paper, it's a pretty bad pen, and we'll tell you why. The tips are far more expensive than regular tips. You have to connect this to the unit. It needs to be charged. It has batteries on board, and you need to have Bluetooth on all the time. And if it runs out of batteries, you can only charge it via the Huawei. Whereas the Kobo Elipsa has employed a better pen this time around. The first time around, they had a pen with a quadruple A battery. Not a AAA, a quadruple A. Not many players in the industry actually do this. MeBook does it, couple other devices do it, but no one in the world of e-paper outside of Kobo. Well, that's all dead and buried because they now have this one, which charges via USB-C. And this is really the only pen in the e-paper e-note market that has a USB-C charging. Sony DPT and its properties like Fujitsu, etc. had USB micro charging, but not USB-C. Features an eraser at the back, and it features a button. We'll get into that when we get into the review of the note-taking section. Let's look at these two side by side and give you some super light specs. They are both 10.3-inch screens, they are both e-ink supplied screens, and they both have 227 ppi. Neither of these have 300 ppi, unfortunately. They also both have a different body construction. The Matepad paper features a leather backing that wraps around all the way to the front ledger, whereas the Kobo has more of a simplistic plastic on glass design with 2 little rubber stoppers at the back. The screen to body ratios are also pretty drastically different, as Kobo supplies you a very large ledger on the side. You know, on personal experience, I would probably like the larger ledger because you have more room to hold on to it. When you have a thin ledger, although it's good screen to body ratio, you do find yourself interacting with the screen at certain points. You have to back everything off, in which case it just gets a little bit unwieldy, so that just has to come into the account as well. Now, for this video, unfortunately, we're not going to do a whole bunch of multimedia comparisons and stuff like that. Reason being, the Huawei can play videos and go online, and it has a onboard audio, it has a speaker, it has a lot more multimedia experiences that it can undertake. For example, it has apps even. So there's not much of a parallel we can draw between the two, but we are going to focus on note-taking for the most part because that is what you are here to see. If you want to see individual reviews on these, check the video cards up above. This is the pen. Like I said, you have to snap it to the side and then it will say M Pencil. Now this actually does drain pretty quickly. In fact, if you watch the last video, I think we shaved off about 10% in an hour of barely even touching it to this unit, so it doesn't last as long as I would like it, and it is inconvenience on the Kobo as well that you have to plug it in, so neither of them are exactly hitting home runs when it comes to the pen experience. Now, this is where we get into something completely different because the Huawei is kind of traditional in the way it takes notes. You have the pens, you can tap on this, you have a different amount of sizes, 3 colors, ballpoint, pencil, and fountain. And pencil looks like an actual pencil. Now there's no button or eraser at the back, so you might be wondering, how do you swap? Once it is connected, you can double tap and that toggles in between the eraser. We're on area erase now, so it's going to erase a particular area. You can change that by tapping on that area, standard or clear strokes. That's really cool, and the Apple Pencil does that as well, so that's all fine and dandy. If you draw something like that, you can lasso it and you can move it around, copy, cut, paste, and you can convert to text as well. So if we go, I can just toggle that actually. We go area erase, we go over here and we say hello. I can grab that lasso tool, spin it around, convert to text, and away we go. We have hello. You can insert it, you can copy the text, you can add to it, all that fun stuff. You do have some templates here as well. Hitboxes are a little bit small. You have to make sure you know where you're touching on the screen. You have a lot of different ledgers, work education, And these all have individual carousels. You can choose one and plomp it right on the screen. You can add text and you can add images. Now, outside of that, there's not a whole lot. It's fairly simple. There's no layers. There's no shapes. It's pretty standard, to be completely honest. You just have a couple pens and really a highlighter, and that's not really all that many features. Now, in terms of the writing feel, it's fairly abysmal. It's completely inconsistent as well. If you hold it straight up like this, it's ridiculously sticky. Now, you're never going to naturally hold it like that. Well, I'll extend an olive branch. Sure, you hold it like this. Depending on how worn your pen is and the way you're holding it, it could suddenly lose all grip. And actually, that second time, it genuinely slipped out of my hands. The first time I was trying to force its hand. It is a very inconsistent experience. It does not simulate paper. It doesn't even really simulate any sort of writing notepad. It really just is this kind of very thick piece of rubber on a piece of glass with very little feedback whatsoever. I'm not feeling anything through the actual pen itself, and it's not that great of an experience, unfortunately. Although it does have its benefits. It is fast, the pen is high quality, all that fun stuff. Now, with the Kobo Elipsa, it's kind of split into two. The basic notepad is quite basic. It doesn't really do a whole lot. You have fountain pen, calligraphy pen, brush, highlighter, and some thicknesses. So we'll just choose the thickness. We'll go like that, draw around, we'll get our lasso tool, we'll loop it, and then from here we can move it around, we can stamp it, we can erase it, etc. You have a couple colors, so we can go brush, medium gray, super thick, and start making some lines. As you're drawing, you can press the button and toggle between highlighter, and basically only the Fujitsu was able to do this earlier on. So that's really nice. You have the eraser at the back, the eraser is very fast, all that's really nice. Now, there's nothing else you can do in this notebook because it doesn't have any additional features. You have change page background, which are your templates, and they all change page to page, so you can have each page be a different one. That's really nice. Now you might be wondering, where's all the additional features? Where's the change text and convert to handwriting and all that stuff? It's actually in a completely different notebook, and you can't mix them. It's impossible. You have to now go to the advanced notebook. And you see that? That's cool. We'll get to that in a second. With this notebook, it's a massive learning curve. In fact, it's the largest learning curve of any eNote we've ever seen. Reason being, if you try to draw on the page, it won't let you, because that's not how this works. You have to draw within the confines of the line or add new isolated sections. I'll explain. If I say hello, I must write between those lines because each individual elongated row is its own area. If I double tap that, it's going to convert that and it's going to put it in line with everything else. If I write my name and I double tap that, it's going to convert it and put it right there. I can delete these as I see fit, these little lengthwise, widthwise areas. If I add multiple things, Peter is cool. Might not do a very good job on the S, but either way, there it is. From here I have additional features like circle to highlight, underline to embolden. There's a ton of things you must learn on this device in order to use it. It's a serious thing. Now you might be wondering, well, what else can I do? You can go up here. You can insert a drawing, in which case it isolates in line with your elongated notepad, a square, in which case you can do free-form drawing. That's really nice. Now from here, you want to add more things. Maybe I want to add a diagram. It's going to do the diagram in line. Here you can make circles, and this is much like an eye reader and shaping. So if I draw another line here with a square, draw P in it, I double tap to process, and it's going to smooth everything out. If I do a star, which basically Supernote started first, it's going to make it a star. If I draw a circle all willy-nilly, it's going to make it a perfect circle. That's really nice. That's an amazing feature. The only problem is you have to learn all these. Once you learn them, it's fine. But the thing is, for a beginner that's getting into eNotes, they can feel overwhelmed because it's a strong learning curve of all these individual things. Freeform section as well as a gigantic area, in which case you can go like that and you can change the dimensions and whatnot of that area. And this is the best one by far, this is Math Equation. Math Equation, sit tight for this one. Watch this. I don't even know if it's going to be right. That's quite the equation. All you have to do is equals, double tap, and it solves it for you. That could very well be wrong, but that's not the point. The point is it has the capabilities of doing mathematical equations. It works with square roots, it works with decimal points, it works with fractions in line. As long as you draw coherently, it will calculate everything for you, and it's completely automatic. This has a ton of features that you will have to get used to. You can change the line spacing too if you want it a little bit wider, maybe your writing is taller, etc. Now here comes the part where we rant a little bit, but you will learn something, so maybe stick around and listen to what is going on with these guys. Huawei has officially become the second manufacturer outside of Remarkable that is actually making you pay for services. Cloud services, conversion services, and even a point system for the bookstore and the app store. They actually have 3 different portals of making you add your credit card and buying different tiers of subscriptions, amounts, and packages to pay money to unlock services. And it's a little bit disheartening because when the Huawei came out, it was really not optimally performing against the competition. The pen was lacking. It was kind of a little bit just a stale experience. There's no A2 mode. It really did not bring a whole lot to the party. And then they advanced with the collector's edition that forces you to buy a very expensive 6 gig model and give you a case you don't necessarily need and charge you more for it, and now they're locking out features to charge you. This isn't a hit at Huawei, this is evidently what's going on. Kobo is a little bit more lenient. In fact, you can sideload in your own content if you don't want to use anything from them. That's well and good. You don't have to subscribe to anything to unlock any features. Everything's just basically there for you to use, and they do have a very good ecosystem as well. They have one of the best bookstores next to Amazon in the world. They work with Rakuten Books, of course. Rakuten purchased Kobo many a year ago. In terms of functionality, the Huawei has it beat. You have a lot more things you can do, and you have apps. Apps is a big one. You might not agree because a lot of people don't like sideloading in APKs, but you have it on this. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. The Kobo won't allow you to do apps. In fact, the few things they do have are located under beta features, in which case you can do Sudoku, Solitaire, Unblock It, Word Scramble, and then just light games. Unblock It would be the kind of strategy game in which you move the things around and you get the block out, etc. So very light things you can do on this, but that's not the point. The point is that this is an ebook reader first and foremost, kind of, and that's up for debate because something like an Amazon Scribe would be considered an e-reader first and foremost, because when they came to the party, they didn't really have any features, they had no functionality, whereas this, they're on their 3rd e-note. 2 Elipsas and a Sage, and 2 gens of pen. So it is safe to say that Kobo is investing in electronic notes, e-notes, e-reader notebook devices, because evidently they are producing more and more of these, and they're making their own pens. This is R&D from the ground up. It looks like a couple other pens on the market, but not quite. And it is made all new from Netronics, from their Chinese plant, not the Taiwanese plant that they usually make things for Kobo. You do have books, you got notebooks, you have Discover, and more. Just has your activity, your Dropbox integration. They said there's supposed to be Google Drive on this. I hope that's going to be popping out soon. But it's really that these two competing devices are so different from each other. They are so drastically different from the way that the pens charge and function, although the tips look remarkably similar. The way they lock everything out behind a paywall on this, the way this has a great overall ebook store, but a kind of semi-convoluted note-taking experience, whereas this is more of a straightforward note-taking experience but lacks functionality. This is completely unique and has a ton of functionality. Arguably the most functionality out of almost anything. I mean, we've never seen math equations. No one has that. And only one other manufacturer, iReader, has shaping. So this is throwing at you a lot of new and innovative things in the world of note-taking. This isn't. This has nothing new that has never been done before. It is so basic. And this is the latest software as well. It's up to you guys. We hope this has been a little bit eye-opening, and just this is not a feature video. This is just a casual video of looking at these two side by side, how they kind of work. And again, if you want to see the individual reviews, they'll be on the end roll at the end of the video. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. Hope you have a great day.